Hello, one and all. It is I yet again, CD or the Dark One, here to talk to you about episode 16 of Kamen Rider Saber, Saving the World: A Ray of Light. This episode debuts the newest Kamen Rider for the series, who is the 8th rider for the series, not counting the movie exclusive Kamen Rider. At the moment, Kamen Rider Falcon, who is technically the 8th or 9th. We're getting close to Ryuki levels here. We're almost there. Just like 5 more, and we'll surpass Ryuki. We'll finally hit 14 riders. Anyway, yeah, this is Kamen Rider Saikeo's debut episode, and he's an interesting one. I'll give him that. He's a very interesting rider. Not since Kamen Rider Turbo have we had such an interesting Kamen Rider with such interesting applications. Anyway, the episode itself. The episode, obviously following off the heels of everyone's victory last week. Everyone's in happy moods, the year's ending, so they want to celebrate. They want to have New Year's soba, which Rento's very excited about. Rento's very happy about food, I just noticed that. I thought it was just sweets before, but no, I think it's just food in general. They talk about cleaning up your room, which that's like New Year tradition, if you don't know, where you like clean up and all that kind of stuff, either the day before or the day after New Year's. Apparently it's also bad luck to wash on the day of New Year's. I don't really get that, but whatever you can to help push good fortune for you into the new year. I think everyone in the world kind of needs that good fortune right about now. Anyway, yeah. So, everyone's being happy, they have lots to look forward to, New Year, and, they're all together. Yeah, the Kento's dead, and Sophia's missing, but they have a lot more to be happy about than they are to be sad. And again, Sophia's not dead, at least as far as we know, so there's a good chance that they could find her. Anyway, back with the Medgido, they're, Storios, that's Legios, he is super ticked off that his plan failed. Legio, he's ticked off that his plan failed, and that, they didn't get the table of contents. It's called Table of Revelations, but it's the Table of Contents. That's basically what it is. They couldn't get the Book of Destiny. But, Sora was like, look, bro, we got this. We got this. We have another plan. The plan didn't work, but, we can start the next plan. And that next plan is, we don't know. But we'll see throughout the episode that people are starting to see Wonderworld. Like, they just look up in the sky and they can see Wonderworld. And there's a funny moment because we get a cameo in this episode by Ultraman suit actor who has basically suit acted at least most of the Ultramen since, I want to say X. I think the oldest series I saw on his entry was X. But he's suit acted a lot of Ultramen. And now he's in Kamen Rider, even though it's a quick cameo. It's still really cool to see this guy out of suit, just this absolute legend of an actor. Yeah, so it's cool to see the suit actors out of suit, basically. Anyway, we get to see one of the people also who can see Wonderworld up in the sky is May's boss at the publishing company. And, she obviously goes off to get Touma's manuscript because, the deadline's due, because, Touma always pushes the deadline. And, Touma says, hey, new year, I'm not just going to let May handle this. I'm going to go down there myself and deliver the manuscript myself. Which is, really cool. And then, he's like, oh, we can go hang out later. And, I forgot to mention this, but basically Touma's been thinking a lot about what Daichi told him before he died. That there's a traitor in the Swords of Logos, and Daichi's logic still stupid as fuck. I became a traitor to stop the traitor. But, Touma's thinking about it, and he knows he can trust, the Swords of Logos who are with them currently. His friends. He knows he can trust them. But, Reika's a bitch. So, we find out she's working with someone. It looks to be maybe the Medgido. I'm not 100% on this, because she's talking to a cell phone, and the Medgido are watching the events through some kind of viewing sphere. So, they might be working together, or they might have parallel plans. But Reika's definitely shady, because she is trying to get the Sword of Light to appear. Sword of Light has been gone for quite some time, and she wants the Sword of Light to come back, and knows that Touma is the key to having it return to the world. And, no, basically, I think she might have the Sword of Darkness. I'm not 100% on that, because no one seems to mention a Sword of Darkness being lost, which it kind of was last episode. But anyway, yeah. Reika is talking to someone, and at first she tries to recruit Touma to the southern base, but he says no, so she's like, okay. Have a good year, buddy. And then she goes to the other swordsmen when they're out and about. They're basically prepping for the new year. Some are buying groceries and getting ready for the soba party. And basically tells them, hey, look, Touma might be sketch. He might be very sus right now. He went to the Book of Destiny with Caliber. He was the only one to come out. We don't know exactly what happened in there. Everyone who seems to have come in contact with this thing has basically gone traitor. Like we had the original Caliber, we had Daichi, and Touma has been in contact with it. So, maybe confiscate his stuff so we can see if he's on the level real quick. I mean, he doesn't say it like that, but basically that's their plan. So they ambush Touma when he's on the way to deliver his manuscript, and basically said, hey, can you hand over your sword and ride books real quick? They don't tell him that this is just a temporary thing. If it is temporary, that might be permanent. I just assume that they temporarily are going to do it, because they should really trust Touma a lot more than they are in this episode. Especially you, Buster, considering the fact that he saved your fucking kid. Anyway, the Swords Logos are really holding the idiot ball, but Touma doesn't help himself either, because he decides then and there, instead of doing it earlier when it was a better moment and not everyone was on tension about it, to say, hey guys, there might be a traitor in the Swords of Logos. They're like obviously Rentaro isn't down with that, because he sees the guild as the people who raised them, so he's not down for it. He mentions that he got information from Daichi, and so Ren definitely isn't down for it, because he's like, he killed Kento. And as we know, Ren is basically super into Kento. Like, that was his bestest friend of all time, so he's not hearing any news about that, especially if it's coming from Daichi. And Tetsuo and Ryo are basically not gonna believe him right now, because they don't know who to trust, because they got news from Reika, they believe Sophia is captured by the Medgido, and Touma's not helping his case by dropping this news now. So yeah, they all fight, and obviously Touma's not going full power. He's basically playing on defense, but he's getting his ass kicked by everybody. Ren is going hard on him. Like, I think Kenzan gets the most hits in on them in the whole fight, but it's a bit of a mess of 4-on-1 fight that obviously he's not winning. He's only using base form, not any of his full combo or even his Dragonic Knight form. He's just getting wailed on by everybody. And then Yuri shows up. The mysterious figure shows up, whose name is Yuri, as we find out in this episode. He shows up, and he basically says, hey, I have to keep the balance of the world, and pulls out his driver and transforms into his sword. Yes, so Kamen Rider Psycho, wielding, I don't know, I don't even know what his sword's called. I think it's called Psycho, I'm not sure. Anyway, he transforms and is absorbed into the sword, and basically fights as a floating sword to beat the other swordsman back, which is honestly a clever way to beat a swordsman, because, how do you hit a sword? You can only really guard against it if the sword's floating at you. Like, when you're trained, especially Buster, who has a big-ass fucking sword, how do you fight a small, slender blade that's flying at you? And, the whole shock of seeing a sword of light reappear after being on for who knows how long. I'm pretty sure more than all their lifetimes combined, though. So, yeah. He wins, beats them back. They fuck off for now. Rentaro looks back a bit. He might be a bit apprehensive of believing. He is the secondary writer, so he might come back to Kento's side. He might come back to Touma's side pretty easily. But, we don't know as of yet. Anyway, Yuri introduces himself to Touma, and that's where Touma story ends at the end of the episode. But the episode's not over yet, because, in the middle of all this, Storios gave Legiel a white book, like a big white book that looks very similar to the base of Drow Dragon, or at least the base mold of Drow Dragon. So that could be someone's power up very soon. Maybe it might be Psycho's power up eventually, considering the fact that he uses the same kind of driver as Caliber. The whole base thing where you just slam the book down. Although his book is very different from any of the other Rider books that we've seen so far, which is interesting. But yeah, he hands him a white book, and he heads off and meets May's editor, or May's boss, who's in the woods because she likes to go camping. She doesn't really like being stuck in the city all the time. And seeing Wonderworld up in the sky every time she looks up is kind of unnerving. So she's basically going on a relaxing camping trip in the middle of winter, which sounds really dumb, but apparently this is a thing because I've watched Laid Back Camp, and apparently that is a thing. But yeah, she goes out there. Medgido shows up, holds out the white book, and it transforms her into a Yeti, Kaijin. That she's literally called the Yeti Medgido or Medjid, which that's interesting. So yeah, she'll be the big Kaijin threat next episode because we're still doing a 2-part episode structure for right now. Anyway, back to what I was saying about Psycho's white book. His white book is what's it called? Oh yeah. His right book is the Kennobaku Jinnobaku, are silver and gold. I don't know what Baku means, but I just know Jin and Kin typically are a reference to gold and silver. So, his right book is a gold and silver reference book, and I don't know much more about it than that. It appears that he only used the gold mode, or maybe gold mode of the right book in this episode. Potentially it was the silver mode. I'm not 100% on that, but it's apparent that his ride book it might have a mode change gimmick, considering the fact that he has gold and silver mentioned. He apparently can switch between gold and silver mode. Whatever that will mean, we don't know yet, because this is his debut, so we only really get to see him do like a really cool thing, which is transform into a sword and then beat back all of our established riders on one attack. So he could have a gold silver mode thing. We do know that he does have a mode where he can summon his shadow to basically come up and be his rider form. No, not really his rider form. His shadow will use a sword, basically, which that's some interesting bits. The Jinnobaku and Kinnobaku, I think it might be reference to the whole you have a golden thing or a silver thing. This pops up in a lot of stories here and there. I specifically can first remember thinking of it, hearing it from playing Dot Hack, and then there was this little bit in the game where there was this pool where you toss in weapons or items, and it would spit out a spirit that said, "Did you lose a silver axe or golden axe?" And that stuff like that. I think this is a reference to some kind of myth that I don't know off the top of my head, but that would be cool to see this referenced in this if he has a gold and silver mode, which I can't think of a writer having that kind of mode change gimmick. I do know of a Sentai member who had that kind of mode change gimmick, but it was really only for his power up, and I'm talking about a guy from Gokaiger. He had his gold, he was Gokai Silver, and he had a gold mode, which was basically his powered up form. So yeah, that's it for this episode. This really was a quick episode. This is just a really quick episode to establish a new status quo that we're going into the new year with. We have Kamen Rider Psycho here. Touma separated from the rest of source of logos. Reika is extremely suspect. Sophie is still missing. The Medgido are now going after humans to transform them into Medgido, which, that's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder what that will lead us into for the next, for this next phase in the story, the next arc going forward. And yeah, we won't have an episode next week because obviously New Year's. So we'll see, the next Saber in the new year of January. I mean, 2021, hopefully that'll be a better year than 2020 was. I'm not even going to make the 2020 was an awful joke, so I'm just going to reference that it was pretty bad for the world in general. But yeah, the next episode is set for January 10th. And yeah, so that means we won't have a Saber episode next week. And not because of a golf tournament this time. And with that said, I'll see you all next time, because I'm pretty sure next episode will have a lot of plot revelations and stuff going down. So, until then everybody, see you next year.